I've never seen player-led leadership like I did on the Panthers. The coaches didn't need to enforce anything.
That's incredible.
It was Greg, it was Luke Kuechly, it was Ryan Khalil, it was Thomas Davis, it was Julius Peppers.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, my first year in football.
What a group of dudes. I mean, dude.
Yeah, all downhill from there.
My name is Tim Riley. This is the Coach 'Em Up podcast. Zach Zellner is not with us today. He has profusely expressed his FOMO because the guest that we have in house today is an absolute legend and just a treat to hang out with. Before I reveal our guest, we have some house cleaning, some things that we need to get in order, an important topic that must be discussed. At this point, if you've been listening, you know there are two types of people in this world. There are subscribers and there are non-subscribers. To all of our subscribers, our day ones, people who have committed to us, we're committed to you. You're our kind of people. Now, our non-subscribers, I'm not saying that you're not our kind of people. We do love and appreciate you. However, we just like our subscribers a little bit more than you. So do us a favor, seek the validation, press the subscribe button, join the subscribers on the winning side. It's free to you. It helps out the show. And we get to keep bringing on absolutely A+ guests like the gentleman I'm about to introduce, Jon Heck. Jon, how are you, sir?
I'm doing fantastic, man. It's surreal being on the pod. We were kind of talking about it off the air. Like, you've got those podcasts you listen to regularly. You feel like you know the host. Yeah. So like hearing you deliver like the subscriber, non-subscriber thing, I feel like I'm in my favorite TV show right now. You know what I mean?
Good. Well, honestly, it's humbling to hear that you're a listener to the show. It means a lot. So thank you.
Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Yes, that's right.
What they say in radio.
And people, just to put a bow on it, subscriber. Jon Heck is a subscriber.
You're damn right.
Be more like Jon Heck. I think that's something we're all going to take away from this conversation today. Jon, I know who you are. I had the distinct pleasure of coming on your show.
Yes, you did.
What a wonderful conversation and just a refreshing opportunity. Sometimes, and we talked about this off air as well, the ethos of what I want to create and continue to manifest and cultivate is not like an interview, but like I want it to be just we're kicking it.
Exactly.
And I want people who are listening and watching to feel that. And when I was on your show, I mean, we had all these things lined up and then it was like hard right. And then we just got it.
Those are the best episodes.
They are the best, man. Yeah. So anyway, I want to say, I'm going to go ahead and plug Jon right now. He has a tremendous podcast. He's an incredible interviewer. And I got to tell you, he's far more prepared than I ever am for a show. And it shows, okay? So Jon, look, man, that was my first opportunity meeting you. Since then, I've been following you much more closely, admittedly. And I look at your Instagram and sometimes I think to myself, why do I even try? What am I even lifting weights for? This motherfucker. Everyone also go check out. Literally, I would never encourage people to press pause, to leave the show, to go, this is the one and only time I'm going to do so. Do yourself a favor. If you're in the car listening, wait till you get to a red light. If your boss, you've got one AirPod in, your boss is fucking yapping in your face, say, shh, hush. What I need you to do is just pause briefly. Go look at his Instagram page. Go look at this Viking of a human being just to get some perspective. Because like right now in the seats, if you're not watching, you can tell he's larger than me. If we stand up, I look like his son. And I'm not a little guy. So go check out Jon Heck's Instagram. Get yourself familiar. And while you're doing that, when you come back, I'm going to go ahead and prompt Jon right now. Jon, I know who you are. Many of the listeners are going to know who you are. For the people who don't know who the fuck you are, who's Jon Heck? What's your background? How'd you take us through your formative years as an athlete, coaching experience, what you're doing now, and then we're going to go through all of it.
For sure. Okay, so my name is Jon Heck. I grew up in a true football household. My dad, he is currently the offensive line coach for the Kansas City Chiefs. My brother plays left tackle for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I was predestined to be an offensive lineman. But early years, my dad was a player. He played 12 years in the league. We moved around as he moved teams. He got into coaching. Grew up in Jacksonville, Florida. I'm the oldest of 4 kids. My brother is a Duval, indeed. My brother is a triplet. So yeah, I'm the oldest of 4. The 3 siblings are triplets. Yeah.
Your mom.
Poor mother.
Holy shit.
That grocery bill, man.
Oh my fucking God. Are they all the same size as you and your brother?
So my brother's huge. I mean, he's my size. He's 6'8", 315. My sisters, they're tall.
Okay.
Now, they didn't get the O-line gene.
Oh, so they're sisters, all 3?
So brother and 2 sisters.
Oh, got it.
Brother and 2 sisters.
Okay.
Both sisters are tall, they're fit, athletic. They were more intellectually gifted than athletically gifted. So that's the route they took. They both were star students at Notre Dame, which is Dad's alma mater.
Oh, wow. Are they the favorite?
No.
Okay.
I'd say I would argue my brother is the golden boy.
Got it. He's the oldest?
I'm the oldest.
Okay.
I'm the oldest of the 4. I'm 3 years older than him, but he ultimately followed in Dad's footsteps.
Got it.
And yeah, he was always the golden boy. Meanwhile, I was carving my own path.
Sure. Yep.
But grew up in a very football household.
Yeah.
I played ball. I got a scholarship to University of North Carolina. Go Heels. Rough year for the Heels. Rough year for the Heels.
Tough.
I was a Bill Belichick apologist in the whole offseason amidst all the girlfriend drama. And
there was much of it.
I'm probably getting blackballed from the university by even touching this topic. But
maybe for now, but I think when you're on the other side of it, they'll be like, it's all good.
So hopefully we can salvage things. But anyway, I played O-line at UNC. I was a 4-year starter there at right tackle.
Damn.
But man, during my football career, it became clear to me that my real passion was training. Like the off-season training, conditioning, to me, that was my in-season. And the football was kind of an obligation almost.
Yeah.
And
can you talk a little bit about that, John? Because I think most people assume, and frankly, I was one of those people, when I got into working in the professional space and private sector, the assumption is like, oh, these high-level professional athletes, they love their sport. Yeah. They love it. It's the thing they care about the most. And in fairness, many do. Right. However, some people are there just because they are absolutely gifted and it's going to be the best job opportunity that you can probably get. I mean, would that be a fair assessment?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I said earlier I was kind of predestined to play offensive line, and like there's real truth to that. I was big. I was, relatively athletic.
Yep.
And it never felt like a choice. It was just kind of like, I'm going to play O-line.
This is what you do now.
My dad did. I'm built for it. And, as a kid, when I started playing football in 7th grade, immediately all coaches assumed like, oh, you're just going to be a baller right out the gate. You're your dad's son.
I would imagine there's a tremendous amount of pressure.
I did feel pressure. Yeah. Now, I will say I never felt that pressure from my dad.
Wow.
Which is important.
That's incredible.
I think
Did he recognize it?
I think later on he did. And we had a conversation when I was making the decision to walk away from football. And it was I guess I'll get to that in a second, but that was a really hard conversation for me to have.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting in the car for hours, like working up the courage to dial my dad, tell him, like I'd already told my mom that I was going to hang it up. And I was so worried about what he was going to say because he'd been my mentor for my whole football career.
Man.
And he couldn't have been more supportive. But yeah, early on, I felt all sorts of pressure from the outside world. And I kind of felt like I was living in my dad's shadow.
Totally.
And I was always good, but I was never as good.
Yeah.
He was captain of the 88 Notre Dame national championship team. He was a 5-star recruit. He was a 1st-round draft pick.
Right.
He played 12 years in the league, and I was a 3-star. I went to, mid UNC.
Yep.
You know, and I was a projected 6th, 7th rounder, you know, undrafted free agent type talent. And I never loved it. It was never really my thing. And, you know, I got into college and I was a starter as a redshirt freshman. And I had a kind of a traumatizing experience. We were playing Georgia Tech at Georgia Tech, and I was going against an elite pass rusher. His name was Jeremiah Tachu. He went on to be a 2nd round draft pick for the Chargers and played a long time. But, you know, I was not quite ready to be handling the edge against a guy like that. And I remember we were losing. We hit a deep shot touchdown to Ryan Switzer. Play gets called back because I held. He roasted me. I held him. Flag. Plays called back. We lose the game. And I got on the bus and I opened up Twitter and I'm just getting all these ads. You know, Jon Heck, fuck you. Jon Heck, go kill yourself. You know, like Tar Heel Nation. And it was like so devastating to me. And like I felt like I let my team down. I felt like I let the fan base down. I felt like I, you know, let my family down. Yep. And from then on, football was even less fun to me. You know what I mean?
I could definitely understand that.
It was always sort of this like anxiety of not wanting that to happen again. And I went on to have, you know, a solid career. You know, I was an all ACC guy my last 2 years. But I knew I didn't love it. And I loved the weight room. And I loved
Let's fucking go.
So I knew I wanted to be a strength and conditioning coach. Yeah. And, you know, going into my senior year at UNC, I was like, I don't have to keep doing this. Right. Like, I'm a grown man. When I graduate college, like, I don't have to keep following in dad's footsteps. Yeah. So I made the decision. I was like, after we finish our bowl game, my senior year, like, I'm done. I'm going into strength and conditioning. I'm going to compete in powerlifting. And that's what I did. So like I said, I remember mid-season, I had that. I had already told my mom, and then I'm sitting in the parking lot working up the courage to tell dad, finally call him, and he was supportive. He just wanted me to do what I love and be
Shout
happy.
Out supportive dads, man.
Yeah.
That's a powerful thing.
Yeah, you know, I saw so many teammates, especially in high school, who had that dad who was like living vicariously through the son. Who,
as someone who still coaches some high school athletes here in town.
Yeah, yeah, and I think my dad, who played at the highest level, coached at the highest level, like he didn't need to live vicariously through me. He just wanted, you know, he wanted me to be happy. So I always say he was a dad first. He was a coach as a distant second to me. He would help me. He would watch my film. He would always give me constructive feedback, but he was never like ripping me after a bad game. Right. I never felt that pressure from him.
That's awesome.
So shout out to dad. Yeah. But anyway, so I made the decision to hang it up, and that's what I did. And I went right into strength and conditioning. So I started working at a D1 sports training in
really?
Yeah. That was my first gig.
Incredible.
D1 Raleigh. So that was my first gig. And I started competing in powerlifting. Yeah. And then, and man, first powerlifting meet, I was so hooked.
Powerlifting meets, for those of you who haven't been to a powerlifting meet, so I wasn't familiar with the culture and the community of a powerlifting meet. Kelly, you know, we just looking for something to train for. You know what I'm saying? This is pre-Apex, of course. She was like, I got to compete in something. What am I fucking doing? I'm training hard. I'm getting strong. So I pointed her in the direction of someone who eventually I'm going to have on the show, her current powerlifting coach, Ryan LeCure. Shout out Ryan. And Kelly, just being the unit of a human she is, her first meet, wins overall, wins the, you know, her weight class, everything. What I recognized there was every single lifter got the same level of support from the crowd and the other competitors. I was like, oh my God, this is the coolest strength event I've ever been to. The culture is incredible.
The powerlifting community and the strongman community, phenomenal. everyone just wants to help everyone else succeed.
Yes.
You go to a powerlifting meet, oftentimes the meet director will say, raise your hand if it's your first meet. Half the room raises their hand. Everyone is so cool and inviting. Even more so in strongman. Like,
really,
powerlifting kind of has this grungy, kind of outlaw, degenerate culture.
I see that
baked into the origins of it. Now it's become a lot less like that as it's become a little more mainstream. But strongman, it's all the big jolly country boys.
Yeah,
It's interesting seeing the two different cultures there. But did my first powerlifting meet, was totally hooked.
Fuck yeah.
And then I got my first opportunity in football. I interviewed with Joe Ken and the Carolina Panthers to be their year-long seasonal intern.
So sick.
You and I talked off the air about kind of having that kind of lucky connection, opportunity, whatever, that, the stars align, you get a shot and you capitalize on it. That was me. So I had a connection with Joe Ken, Dirk Cutter, who Joe had been the head coach. I believe it was at Arizona State where Joe Ken had been a strength coach for, had worked with my dad, and we friends of the family.
Right.
And so I had that connection, got an interview with the Panthers, and seized the opportunity, got the job. So my first year in football was working for the man I now consider to be my mentor in strength and conditioning, Joe Ken. Baptism by fire. He was a tough boss, man. And he and I have gone on to become great friends, colleagues. We talk every couple weeks on the phone.
Oh, that's great.
I learned so much from him about programming, about navigating the business side of it. And I've consulted him on just about every career decision I've ever made since then. But man, he held me to a high standard. He was on my ass. I remember my first my first mistake working for Joe Ken was we're walking to practice, and it's kind of a hike to get to the practice field. Okay. And the trainers drove by in the cart, and I was with a group of players. Like, hey, you guys want to ride? The players all jump in, and I jumped in too and accepted this cart ride to the field. And there happened to be media kind of photographing the players, and they captured a photo of me on the cart riding. And then the next day I come in and Joe Ken has this wall of shame in his office covered in like photos. And I see my photo on there in the back of the cart. I'm like, I instantly start sweating. I'm like, what is happening? What'd I do? And he was like, we walk to the field. Okay. We are strength and conditioning coaches. That is a luxury for the players. And that was my first oh shit moment. So yeah, he instilled a very, he saw that internship as a rite of passage in a lot of ways. So, I was cleaning out his shaker bottles. I was setting up his personal lift.
Can you talk a little bit about your experience with that and why? Because I can tell listening to you talk about it, you cherish that experience.
I do. No, I needed it.
Listen, relatable, because I've had periods of time in my life where if I didn't have a mentor or someone holding me accountable and making me uncomfortable, there's no way I'm placed in a position where I have the strength on my own to grow into the man that I needed to be.
Yeah, for sure.
I needed people who were farther along on that path to hold me to a standard to help me get there. I needed the help.
Yeah, I think it's good to have a little bit of fear in you almost, because it's not like I was walking on eggshells, but I knew there was a standard.
Yes.
And I couldn't let that standard slip, and I had to be getting better, right? There were a few stops in my career where I felt like I wasn't being pushed. I wasn't being challenged. Things become a little complacent. And at times like that, I look back and I was like, man, I kind of wish I had a Joe Ken kind of like holding my feet to the fire, because that forced me to get better.
Yep.
It forced me to adapt and learn quickly. I didn't want to make those mistakes. I didn't want to end up on the wall of shame, and I wanted to impress him and all that. So that year with the Panthers, I feel like was worth like 10 years.
Yeah.
In most places. I grew so much during that year, and I kind of went from the naive intern walking in to when I walked out, like I was a totally different coach and had a completely different relationship with Joe Ken at that point. And it was also that team, you know, it was Luke Kuechly and it was Greg Olson. Cam Newton. It was dudes.
Whoa.
And
that was when they were humming.
That was when
they
humming.
Had a squad.
Yeah. They
freaks everywhere. And Luke, I mean, that guy, inject whatever he's got into my veins.
I cherish that opportunity I had to be around Luke Kuechly, but it almost screwed me because he set the bar so high for like my expectations of
what it's supposed to look like
of a leader.
Yes.
Just the most humble. I mean, literally post game, he's staying in the locker room afterwards, like helping clean up, like just the most kind, knows everyone in the building's name.
You know what I saw? To that point, I saw a clip of him and Greg Olson. They're coaching Little League football, or I think middle school football together.
They are.
And I've been getting all these clips of them coaching up the kids, and I'm like, my God.
They were like best friends. There was this core group within the team, and it was so special because the best players on the team, some of the best players in the NFL, were the best dudes, like the best guys, the best leaders, and they're all best friends. And I've never seen player-led leadership like I did on the Panthers. They enforced it. Like they saw other guys, other players doing stuff wrong. They jumped on it like that. Like the coaches didn't need to enforce anything.
That's incredible.
It was Greg, it was Luke Kuechly, it was Ryan Khalil, it was Thomas Davis, it was Julius Peppers. Like those guys.
Jesus Christ.
My first year in football.
What a group of dudes. I mean, dude.
Yeah, all downhill from there. But yeah, I mean, and they trained their ass off. Like most guys in the NFL, I mean, you know, they go to you. Like they don't stay with the team.
Nope.
Luke and Greg, they stayed back. They trained with
the staff.
With the staff at in Charlotte all off season.
Luke is one of those people in his prime I would have paid to have the opportunity to train around that guy.
Yeah, monster in the weight room. And man, when he was on the field, he was a different guy. Flipped a switch. I mean, he was terrifying on the field. I'm like, I mean, and you know, he'd get off on the sideline. He's ripping the rest of the defense. Like,
whoa,
you know, he's telling guys like, we had this coverage. They were doing this. Like, you needed to be here.
Yeah.
Like, he was just conducting the whole defense and so like frustrated when guys were out of position. And
well, he's legendary for. And again, I'm a football nerd, so everyone forgive me for deep diving on this, but I just have such a deep appreciation for this kind of leader, regardless of whether it's a sport or the profession or anything at all. That guy, many, many times, a game, not just like every other game, every game, he knows what plays next.
Yeah.
And he's calling it out on the field.
Yes.
I mean...
It
injected into my veins, dude.
It was wild, man. That year, I mean, working for one of the GOATs in strength and conditioning, getting to coach some of the GOATs in the NFL.
I mean, Julius Peppers, what a freak.
Yeah, another Tar Heel, by the way.
That's right.
Yeah.
He played basketball too there, didn't he?
He did. He was a two-sport athlete. And I mean, at that year with the Panthers, he was like a 16th year vet.
God.
And just, 6'7", 290, ripped. And the most quiet, soft-spoken guy ever. Super quiet, soft-spoken until he wasn't. Right? Like on the field, if you heard Julius talking, everyone shut up and listen.
Wow.
Which it wasn't often, but when he said something, it had impact. Mm-hmm. But anyway, just went on a huge tangent there about
it. Many of us will be that for the football sickos. That's going to be the best part of this show for them, I bet. Yeah.
So anyway, I had that year with Carolina or with the Panthers, and then a job opened up at my alma mater at UNC, and I was in the state.
Yeah.
And I obviously still had relationships with everyone back at UNC. They knew I'd gotten into strength and conditioning, and I interviewed with them, and I got the job. Talk about things going downhill. First year working for UNC, we go 2-10.
Fuck.
We go 2-10. Whole staff gets fired. Larry Fedora was the head coach at the time, and Mac Brown comes in, hires Brian Hess, who was the head strength coach at Army.
Okay.
Coach Hess came in, retained me, and one other staff member on the strength staff, fortunately. So then I worked the next 4 years under Brian Hess, under Mac Brown at my alma mater. And we had some good years. You know, we had Drake May for a couple years. We had, I don't know if you know Sam Howell.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So, you know, we had some good teams. So spent a total of 5 years at Carolina, and then had an opportunity with the Houston Texans. So went on to Houston, worked with their strength and conditioning staff. And they had some studs over there, Matt Van Dyke, Ryan Grubbs. D'Amico Ryans was had just taken over as head coach.
Elite.
We drafted CJ Stroud. And then, you know, I kind of where the path starts getting interesting. I thought that was going to be the long-term move for me. I was like, NFL, getting back into the NFL. You know, I've got a bunch of years under my belt now. I'm gonna go back to the elite level, and that's where that's my
sail off into the sunset. 20 more years.
Exactly.
Retire.
So that's not how it went. And you know, we can get into it if you want, but I had an opportunity at Troy University pop up. I was offered the assistant director position at Troy University, where I would also be functioning as the nutritionist. And it was a pay cut, and it entailed moving to middle of nowhere, Alabama. And I jumped on the opportunity. I was like, not get me the hell out of here, but I was kind of like, I need to be somewhere else.
Yeah.
So
you got to go.
I got to go. Daryl Bauer had just taken the head strength job at Troy. He was previously the director of strength and conditioning at Houston University, which is how I got to know him. Our staff with the Texans, we had gone over, observed some of their workouts in the summer. I developed a relationship with Coach Bauer. He got the job at Troy. He reached out to me. He said, hey, I need an assistant director. Are you interested? And I said, hell yeah, let's do this thing. So I got that call on a Thursday. The next Tuesday, I was in Troy, Alabama.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's how fast it happens in football. I mean, literally, he called me on Thursday. I talked to my wife that night. We had like 48 hours to make a decision. On Monday, I'm cleaning out my office and saying goodbyes. On Tuesday, I'm in a loaded truck driving 10 hours to middle of nowhere, Alabama.
It really is. I'm from the South.
Yeah.
Troy's in the middle of fucking nowhere. Yeah. I just know it existed because when we would take vacations down to Destin or Panama City, you pass it on the way down, depending on which way you take.
Yeah. So, you know, I made that decision because I wanted to get back to what I considered real strength and conditioning, where we had a real opportunity to make an impact and train guys, which I didn't feel like I was getting that in where I was. And I knew what Coach Bauer was all about. He was a great strength coach, a great leader. And we were going to go in there with a group of hard-nosed, tough kids, you know, kind of, you know, Power 5 rejects, guys who couldn't make it academically, guys who had been in trouble, whatever. All from that kind of Mississippi, Louisiana, Alabama, Florida. Dudes. And those dudes love to train. They're just warriors. There was no big NIL paydays in there. So I had a great year in Troy. I mean, we got after it.
Let's fucking go.
The Coach 'em Up podcast has partnered with Eleiko.
Let's go.
Not only is Eleiko found in 85% of Power 5 schools, but they also offer at-home solutions from racks, flooring, rigs, barbells, bumper plates, your favorite accessories like straps and weightlifting belts, you name it, Eleiko's got you covered. Go to eleiko.com/coachemup and get access to the same equipment that they're using in the best facilities with the best athletes on the planet. The Coach 'em Up podcast is thrilled to be reunited with Atlantis Strength. If you listen to the show, then you know that I think machines are highly underrated, not only for Gen Pop, but for athletic populations as well. With Atlantis Strength, the biomechanics are always dialed in. The joints line up, the strength curve is always on point, and every rep feels natural and strong. And it's no surprise, they've been engineering and shaping greatness in their Canadian workshop for over 40 years. Now that I own a gym myself, it was a no-brainer which company I was gonna purchase my machines from. They are simply the best. If you're a gym owner, strength coach, or you just love good machines, go to atlantisstrength.com or reach out to me directly at connect@coachemuppod.com.
As great as an opportunity as I had in Troy working for Daryl Bauer and those kids and Jared Parker, the head football coach there, my wife got pregnant. We were in the middle of nowhere.
Shout out
Alabama.
pregnancy.
Shout out pregnancy. Shout out
How the hell does that happen?
Shout out
You know what I mean?
biology.
She comes out of nowhere. Shout out biology.
Yeah. The stork dropped off a baby.
Shout out storks everywhere. Yeah.
And we're just like, you know what? We're on our third city in the span of just a few years.
Yeah.
And we know, Troy, even if we stay in football, it's not the permanent spot.
It won't be long term.
Like we're gonna be and I was just so burnt out on the team setting just for a number of reasons. I'm sure we'll get into it. But I had this side business that I had been running in the background since 2018. So by then I'd, 7 years or so. When I'd worked at D1, I was working with a handful of high school kids, some Gen Pop people. And when I left D1, a handful of those guys said, hey, could you still program for me? Could you do nutrition stuff for me remotely? And I was like, sure, $50 a month, whatever. And then they started referring me to some other people like, hey, I've got a buddy. Would you program for him as well? So I started doing remote coaching for a bunch of people. And then I was in powerlifting and I was building a little bit of a physique and starting to lift some heavy weights, and I was putting it on Instagram, and I started getting a little bit of a following on social media. And then all of a sudden I had people in my DMs, hey, do you offer coaching? And then I was like, okay, here's a little side income. Because I wasn't making shit in football, So then over the years, it became very profitable. Yeah. And, I was putting in a fraction of the time into this side business, equaling my football.
Your legitimate salary.
Paycheck. Yeah. And, when I was at UNC, I really was hitting stride as a strongman competitor. And I was working with bodybuilding coaches and dieting year round like a bodybuilder. I'd started building a physique, and my Brian Hess was very supportive of me putting this stuff on social media, and I started posting some of the training we were doing at UNC as well with the guys, and it was always shining a positive light on our training and the team, and it was. Which,
by the way, shout out him for being okay with that, because for the longest time in traditional S&C and D1 sports, if it's a distraction or if it's not about ball or whatever, it's a big fuck no.
Yeah, no, You're
not posting that.
I owe a lot to Brian Hess. He was incredibly supportive of all my endeavors. Now, I worked hard to not let it become a distraction 100%. Or an interference. I think they were symbiotic because it helped with recruiting.
Yes.
And UNC kind of recognized that, because we'd have recruits come in like, oh, I follow you on Instagram. Like, oh, you're one of the strength coaches here? Like, I see you lifting. And the recruits liked it. The players liked it. I was, kind of highlighting the good training that we were doing with them. And it was never like a me thing. It was like an us thing.
Totally.
Like, here's what we are doing at UNC.
Yes.
And then I'd post my own lifting stuff.
Right.
And I think Coach Hess, he saw it as, I have a really strong, advanced lifter on staff. Like, that can be a good thing.
Big time.
So during that time, I really built a pretty solid following and was getting a lot of clients as, nutrition clients, programming clients, to the point where I was kind of capped out. And I was like, I can't take on any more people. I spread too thin. Go to Houston, they shut it down completely. They're like, no more posting, no more business.
As if on cue. By me bringing that up.
Yeah. And they said that in the interview too. They were kind of like, listen, you get this job, you're going to have to be pretty low key.
You knock that social media stuff off.
Yeah. They're like, you sure as hell aren't posting anything we're doing with the team, which I was like, yeah, okay, no problem. And I was like, whatever, like this is the new career move.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, this was just kind of a side gig to supplement my income.
Okay.
Now I'm in the big leagues. Like, yeah, okay, no problem.
Yep, I'll shut it down.
But then I got to Troy and I took a pay cut willingly for it. And I was kind of like, okay, maybe start picking this up again. And Coach Bauer was supportive of that as well. So I started, posting again on social media, working with clients again. Wife gets pregnant and, our season's wrapping up. And we had always talked about plan B. We've got this side business and I love this. Like I love working with bodybuilders and powerlifters and strongman competitors because those are a lot of the guys I was working with on the side.
And they love training like you love training.
Yeah, exactly. And, I was competing so outside of football strength and conditioning, like I had this whole other love for the iron game.
Yeah.
And this whole other sector of coaching. And at times it's like, you work with football players, like they don't necessarily love to lift.
No.
Right. Whereas
that's another big misconception I think a lot of people have. I think people assume they're like, I can't wait to intern and get my CSCS and I'm going to get in the weight room and everyone's going to love it as much as me. It's like, fuck no.
Yeah, exactly.
Most of these people, it's a means to an end. It's going to make me better on the field. Okay, cool. I guess I have to do it.
Yeah, because as a strength coach, like we get into it because we love training. And then our clients in football, they're football players.
Yes.
A lot of those guys don't love to lift. The guys that love lifting are like the walk-on.
Exactly. They're the ones where lifting made them good enough to get on the team.
Yeah. So that's kind of like disheartening for me.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, in my, in my other life, I'm the powerlifters, the bodybuilders, the strongmen, the guys who hire me to program for them, they love lifting.
Yeah.
So I really appreciated that side of what I was doing. And I was like, shit, I'm putting in a few hours a week into this. I'm making just as much money doing this, like putting in 10% of the effort I could. We got a baby on the way. We're in the middle of nowhere, Alabama. We're going to move 8 more times in the next 10 years if I stay in this thing. So I was like, what if we launch this thing full time? And we had some long discussions about it. And, wife was supportive but nervous because, we're on a salary. We have
perceived stability, at least financially.
Yeah, we have full benefits and all that. But ultimately she came around and we decided to make the move. So I resigned from Troy, which that was a hard conversation to have with Coach Bauer because I had the utmost respect for him and we were building something pretty cool over there. But I wanted to bet on myself. Yeah. I wanted to launch my business full time. That's what I did. So formed an LLC. I launched Hammer and Chisel Performance.
Great name, by the way.
And I went all in on social media. I launched my podcast, the Hammer and Chisel Performance podcast. And, I already had this client base that I was working with. So it's not like I was starting from scratch. And I already had a pretty solid, I had 45,000 followers on Instagram or whatever it was. And immediately, as soon as I launched it, I said, hey, I'm out of football. I'm doing this full time. Pop, inquiries. And I got flooded. And so right out the gate, business was kind of popping. And I was fortunate enough for the podcast side of things. I had a lot of friends and connections all over the fitness industry. I had friends in football sports performance. I had friends in pro bodybuilding. I had friends in pro strongman. I had friends in powerlifting. So I had access to a hell of a guest list.
Yes.
And I had been reaching out to people like, hey, I'm starting a podcast. Would you come on the show? Yeah. Ed Cohn, would you come on the show? Hell yeah. Alan Thrall, would you come on the show? Yeah.
How great is Alan?
Dude.
Such a good dude.
Yeah.
That was a surreal moment for me.
Yeah, man.
I'm sure like you, like me, you were watching Untamed Strength on YouTube.
Yes. Yeah, dude. I was watching Alan Thrall, Brian Alsruth.
Yes.
Kind of the
Remember Elliot Hulse too?
Yes. Yep. Zach Evanesh.
Yes.
He was on my podcast recently. Yeah, that was kind of the golden era of fitness YouTube.
Yeah, it was.
So I've had a lot of those guys. A lot of those guys have gone on to become friends of mine. Yeah, so I had like a hell of a guest list that I had access to. So I had all these people coming on the pod, and we're still growing slow. Like,
sure,
it's not like you just jump into a podcast, you immediately get a huge audience.
It's a different type of growth.
Yeah, but
oh my God, you know what I just remembered, dude? I was just so excited to get into conversation for you. I forgot to announce this. This is the Coach 'Em Up Podcast's 100th episode.
Oh, no way.
Isn't that crazy?
That's awesome.
Yeah. Anyway, go on. Continue.
Ah, cool.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. I'm honored.
Yeah.
Well,
it's an honor to have you.
It was an honor to have you on mine. I caught you. You had mono, which worked in my favor because you're a busy man, and you were bedridden at home with nothing better to do than to jump on a podcast with me. So it worked out well for me.
Shout out mono. Yeah.
Shout out mono. Shout out biology again.
Yes.
God, I just lost my train of thought. But yeah, it's I've got 53 episodes out on the podcast.
Congratulations.
I've got 12 that are pre-recorded in the clip, ready to release over the next few months. Dude. So I pulled up the Spotify graph of like listeners per month, and it's a steadily linear increase in slope. So we're building. We're building.
It makes me so happy to hear. I love it so much.
Been really leaning into the YouTube stuff.
Yeah.
So I've really put a lot of effort, kind of less in Instagram, more in YouTube here lately. So I put out the podcasts on YouTube, but then I do full days of training on YouTube. I do talking head videos on YouTube about nutrition philosophy, stuff like that. But with my coaching, I started working with strongman competitors. And I'm working with 4 of the top dudes in the world in strongman.
God.
And we had Brian Shaw hosted the Strongest Man on Earth competition, which is one of the big 4 in strongman. You got World's Strongest Man, the Rogue Invitational, Strongest Man on Earth, and the Arnold. And I had 4 guys in Strongest Man on Earth. So I went out, I did on-site nutrition for them. 2 of my guys placed in the top 5 in that. Yeah. So, and, we connect really well. I connect really well with those guys. Mm-hmm. I was a former competitor. I'm a big dude and, young and relatable with them.
Yeah.
So I've had a lot of fun working with the strongman competitors. And then I work with a handful of NFL guys at a nutrition coaching capacity. Some bodybuilders, powerlifters, and then just a ton of lifestyle Gen Pop clients. So business has really boomed on the the remote coaching side of things.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's busy, man, because I've got 100 plus coaching clients, but then I've got the podcast, which I'm a one-man show. It's scheduling guests, it's doing the podcast, it's editing, it's making thumbnails and timestamps and descriptions. Like, that shit takes work.
So much time.
Yeah.
It's the time that it takes.
Yeah. And then I've got, I got to make sure, I'm plugging the sponsors. I've got a couple of sponsors. I'm, got an ebook and some programs for sale. Got to plug those. I've got a, Team Hammer and Chisel on Train Heroic. I got to
shout out Train Heroic.
So, I got to stay on top of that and do the programming and kind of market it, and YouTube and Instagram, and being a dad. I've got a 10-month-old baby at home.
Congratulations. The best.
Thank you.
So awesome.
He's a redhead like you.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
Yeah.
Prepare. I hope you guys have a separate sunscreen bill. Fuck my life.
Seriously.
It's a real problem. Honestly.
Trust me. I've got the same gene, man.
You too?
I've got the SPF 100 ready to go. Yeah, I come from a lineage of redheads on my mom's side. Yeah. Did you know, fun fact about redheads, have you ever gotten a surgery where the anesthesiologist?
Yes. I wake up. I've woken up.
No, really?
Times. I don't remember.
Okay.
But I remember for my hernia after the fact, they were like, because I think they were a little concerned. They're like, do you remember what happened? And I was like,
You probably have some deep-seated subconscious trauma from the event.
Well, listen, I've got plenty of that without the surgery. Okay.
But yeah, apparently.
I woke up and I was like, no, I'll hold it. Oh, it's fine. I was like in there.
Oh my God.
Yeah, they were freaking.
Nightmare.
They were freaking the fuck out.
That's my worst nightmare. But yeah, apparently us redheads, we like are rapid metabolizers of anesthesia. So I was getting a gallbladder removal surgery a couple years ago.
Christ.
And yeah, I don't know if you can see, I've got some red in my beard, and the anesthesiologist was coming by to give me the, standard spiel. But then he was like, hold on, is that red in your beard? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, okay, that, redheads metabolize the anesthesia differently. We gotta.
True, dude.
And I was like, glad you caught that. Like,
yeah.
Maybe we put that on the questionnaire, like in the pre-surgery.
Literally, it should be under like it should. It's like not Hispanic, African American.
Right.
It should say ginger should be a box that you check. Because also, I don't know if you've had any dentist experiences like I have, but not only does anesthesia metabolite incredibly quickly for us gingers. By the way, we can only call ourselves that, okay? For us gingers, but numbing agents, alcohol. I mean, we're gonna metabolize some shit. But they'll load me up. They'll be like, "Let us know if you feel anything." I always feel it. I feel it every time. And they'll be like, "Do you feel that?" I'm like, "Yes." And they're like, "Oh," and then like they're in there with like 5 more needles of numbing agent. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm also like a rapid metabolizer of caffeine. I can consume like obscene amounts of caffeine. I'm like relatively unfazed.
Oh God.
But God, anyway, so
if only we could rapidly metabolize the sun, then not.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. Yeah, I'm diligent about the sunscreen.
I have to be now. Yeah. I've been burnt so badly so many times. Anyway,
we were talking about my son, who's a redhead, yes, being busy, all that good stuff. So yeah, it's been a really good first year of business.
Yeah.
So I'm having a lot of fun with it.
This is your first year, and you've accomplished this much already.
Yeah. It's.
Can we just pause for just a moment and take that in? Truly, John.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And, I did have it, like I said, as a side business for many years. Yeah. I had kind of a head start getting into it. I had a following. I had a base of clients. I had some name recognition and, kind of an audience that was ready to go as far as clients to pull. So, a lot of people out there who are just grinding from square one, it's a different
different journey, sure. But you, that grind, while like, let's say if you're looking at it from the perspective like, okay, I'm Joe and I'm a trainer and I'm a coach and I'm striking out and I'm going to make an online business, right?
Yeah.
Okay. There's a lot of lead time to be able to eventually get to a place where you're successful. There are time, hours, effort, energy, but you did put that in.
I did.
You took the jobs. You flew across the country. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it didn't look like it in the traditional sense of getting to that place where you can launch. But motherfucker, that's what it was.
It's true. No,
you punched your fucking card, brother. So don't you can't be too humble. Okay?
Yeah. No,
you did.
We had some years, man, making $35,000 in football.
Jesus.
Strength and conditioning. Yeah. No, my first year at UNC, it was like.
Can we talk about that, by the way? Just your experience as a football strength coach.
Yeah.
And D1 and pro sports. Mm-hmm. The pros, the cons, because John, there are going to be people who hear this, and particularly you being with the Houston Texans.
Yeah.
You put all the side hustles to the side because this is going to be the career. Mm. And then after a period of time, I think it was 4 years, you took what people would professionally consider a lesser job for a significant pay cut to move to the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Why would that happen? You know what I mean? So can we talk a little bit? And the reason I say that is that's most people's dream job.
Yeah.
A lot of people listening to this show, their goal is I'm going to intern. Hopefully I'm going to get to intern with a Tim Riley or a Jon Heck or a Zach Zillner. And I want to work in pro basketball, volleyball, football, whatever. And I'm going to work in pro sports and it's going to be the best. I'm going to ride off into the sunset. Yeah,
no kidding. And, walking away from the NFL job, it was kind of the second time in my career where I felt, people kind of saw it as you're sitting on the golden ticket. What the hell are you doing? Walking away from football.
Yep.
And then walking away from NFL strength and conditioning. Yeah. So, okay. Are we jumping right into why I left the NFL, or had you asked the differences, the pros and cons between?
Let's start with your experience in the collegiate setting.
Yeah.
Right. Pros, cons, what you loved, what you didn't.
Right.
And then, because it feels like the goal was always to get to the NFL, right? Eventually.
Yeah.
And to work there in a big capacity.
Right.
So let's talk about what that journey looked like. And then when you were in the league coaching in that capacity, what did it look like and how did it differ? But let's start with college.
Yeah. So in college, I think the pros are you get to have a really big impact, I think, as a strength and conditioning staff compared to the NFL. You're with the guys year round. You really get the opportunity to train the guys. You know, in the NFL, most of them, you don't get them in the off season.
No, I do.
Exactly. They go to the Tim Rileys of the world.
Yes.
Whereas in college, you get them for an entire winter, you get them through spring ball, you get them for an entire summer, you know, and then in season, of course, and at least it used to be, you'd get these kids for 3, 4, even 5 years.
Yeah.
And then, you know, in college, a lot of times, most of the time, the strength and conditioning coach is a culture setter. They're an authority figure. They're a disciplinarian. They're a mentor to these young men. You know, you get that crop of freshmen who comes in, they're with the strength and conditioning staff before they're ever with the football coaches. You get, 8 weeks with them. You get the opportunity to instill that toughness, that grit, accountability, make them coachable, kind of instill the team culture within those guys. You get to really develop them, build relationships with these kids. And like I said, you're kind of a lot of time in a mentor position to some of these guys. And in the NFL, you're not an authority figure. You're not a disciplinarian. You're not really a culture setter. You're strictly training the guys, and you don't get to train them for as long. You don't get full training cycles with these guys in the offseason. So, you know, if you're looking at college versus NFL, college, you really get to develop. Get them bigger, faster, stronger. You get multiple full training cycles with the guys. And, you know, when I got into college football strength and conditioning, I was a programming nerd. I loved training. I wanted the program, the X's and O's, the coaching of the lifting itself and the field work to be the thing that really made the biggest impact.
It mattered.
Yeah, I wanted that. Well, but here's the thing. I wanted it to be the science side of strength and conditioning that really made the impact on the team. Whereas I walked away from it realizing it's much more the art of coaching. It's the intangibles. It's all those other things, the grit, the accountability, the toughness, the team building, just pushing the guys beyond the limits they thought possible. That's where you really get to make the impact. Because when you're dealing with 18, 19, 20-year-old kids who are elitely gifted, genetic freak athletes, you don't need complex training for them to improve.
Right.
You know, they sniff a barbell, that 5-star kid's going to get bigger, faster, stronger.
Yep.
You probably don't have to train him. He's just getting older. He's going to get...
He's just filling out.
Yeah, as puberty runs its course. So it's kind of like with training, you know, your training needs to be sound. It needs to be competent. You know, you certainly can't hurt these kids.
Right.
But the real impact I think you have as a collegiate strength and conditioning coach is taking those personalities and those young dudes and bringing them together as a team and just pushing them hard and pushing them past their comfort zone. And like I said, instilling that culture in the guys. You know, Coach Bauer made a point. He's like, he's never had a former player reach back out to him and be like, Coach, thanks so much for putting 50 pounds in my squat. They always reach back out to him and say, thank you for pushing me.
Yeah.
Like, thank you for mentoring me.
You know what it reminds me of? Your time with Joe Ken.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I will say, Joe Ken, I learned both from him. I learned the X's and O's, the science of programming, but you're right. I look back and I say, thank you for challenging me and being hard on me and all those intangible factors. So I think with that in college, that's where you're going to make the bigger impact.
What are some of the cons, though, in your experience in the college space?
Well,
because you've been in private and you've been in pro.
Yeah, I think from kind of a work-life balance standpoint, you're with the guys year round.
It's like the same thing that makes
Right.
it special is also the reason why your wife has had enough of you.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you're with the guy. We're in the NFL in the off season. Like you actually get an off season.
Yeah.
Like you get your weekends off. You get multiple weeks of vacation. Like, and you don't have that many guys training there. You're coaching for a few hours in the morning, Monday through Friday. You get the weekends off. We get a staff rotation of vacations where you get a legitimate 2-3 weeks off in the off season, whatever. Whereas in college, like in the off season, you're grinding the entire off season. You're recruiting. Like in the NFL, in the months of June, like you're on the beach. In the months of June in college, you're hosting recruiting tours through the weight room. You're going through all the camps and everything like that. You know, you got the 500 kid summer camp and you're having to weigh every kid in and measure in verticals. I mean, you got the slap dick kids with no, you know what I mean? Like, nope, wrong hand down, put the other hand down to run your 40, Billy. Like, got a 15-inch vertical here. Write that down. Yes.
So good.
But yeah, you got summer camps, you got all the recruiting, you got tons and tons of groups, coaching with the team, and all that. So it's from a time commitment standpoint, it's very demanding in college. And then now in this NIL transfer portal era, that was a reason why even getting to Troy, why I made the decision to leave. It was like, it's just different, you know. So Troy, it's a group of 5 smaller program. And I got there kind of thinking, okay, these kids don't have the big paydays. We don't have all the 5-star ego kids. Mm-hmm. But every single kid who played well that year,
They got stolen.
They got stolen.
Yep.
We literally had
Troy is one of those schools.
We had a kid.
It's like Georgia State. You know, they have a good year. They got some dudes. Good luck keeping them.
Dude, we had a running back who was a stud. And, you know, end of the season, he gets the Power T Troy logo tatted on his ribs. Giant Troy logo. I'm Troy for life. The next week, takes a $500,000 paycheck to Ole Miss. Now, and by the way, if that kid listens, he's a stud. I would have done the same thing.
Same thing. Cut me the check, Kiffin. I'll be there, brother.
Yeah. And like, you can't blame those kids.
No, of course not.
They come from nothing and they get the opportunity to make money like that. It's like, hell,
you gotta go.
Dude, you gotta go. But the point is, even at the smaller programs, it's like the second a kid has a good year, they're gone.
Yep.
You know, and then at like UNC, you know, we have these freshmen coming in, they're big time recruits, they're already paid. And it was just different. Like we couldn't coach them.
Yeah.
Like I remember Mac Brown.
They're making more money than the coaches.
Yes. Yeah.
The fuck are you going to tell me?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, and they're 18 years old.
Jesus Christ. If you gave me that much money at 18.
Bro,
I would have been a real.
You know, I remember Mac Brown, my last year there, he came down to us before we started training the freshmen. He's like, listen, like, we can't coach these kids the same. Like, I remember him saying, we got to hug them. Got to hug them.
Got to love them.
Yeah. And I remember like we'd be trying to coach the kids pretty hard. And I remember we had a kid cry and walk off the field. We had kids say like, fuck you. Like I'm like, are you kidding me?
Can you imagine? How old are you, John?
31.
Okay. I'm 35.
Yeah.
In middle school football. If I had said fuck you at a time where arguably maybe you should hug a kid, right? If I were to do something like that, they would have killed me. They would have buried me on the field.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, I'm just thinking about myself as a college freshman. Yeah. I mean, I came in there, I was terrified. Like, I'm in the college setting now. Like, I'm like, yes, sir, no, sir, all in line. No, these kids come in, they're like, where's my Lambo? Like, where's all this stuff you promised me in recruiting? Like, oh, you're gonna yell at me? I'm gonna transfer.
Yeah.
Like,
man, I don't gotta listen to this.
Yeah. And then, you know, beyond that, you just don't have kids for multiple years
anymore. Yeah.
You know, even if it's a kid who's not playing.
The relationship building's different.
The relationship's building, but then also the training's different because you get this new every year.
You're starting over every year, aren't you?
You're starting over.
Fuck.
And you get this new wave of transfers. You know, you got veteran transfers. And we got kids coming from all over the place. You got basically a brand new roster.
Wow,
and it's like,
dude.
And when it comes to the veteran guys who are transferring from bigger programs, you're like, I don't know what kind of training you've been doing. Mm-hmm. Like, do you know how to power clean? Like, you know, in your program, what were you guys doing?
Yep.
And it's like, we're figuring out, like, do we need to treat these guys as day one freshmen? Do we need to, can they be immediately integrated with the team and more of the advanced programming? So it really changed the way we had to approach training initially with these guys. Cause like we got all these new kids and we got to figure them out. We got to figure out who can do what. It's kind of like starting from scratch again. And then we also know, like, we're not going to get to develop these kids for 3 years. Like, we don't have the same time to slow cook that freshman.
Right.
Knowing, okay, he's going to go through 12 training cycles with us over the course of the next 3-4 years. It's like, this kid's probably going to be gone in December. You know, so it really starts to change the overall way that you program the training side of things. And then just all the things that I kind of loved about college football, you know, that mentorship, the relationships, and seeing that kid go from the freshman to the senior and the way he develops, like, it was losing all that. So college football is a little bit different, man, in that regard.
Yeah. The Coach 'em Up podcast has partnered with OVR. In the world of athletic performance testing, OVR has truly changed the game. From their timing gates, vertical jump testing units, and their velocity-based tracking systems, they are simple, easy to use, reliable, precise, and check this out, affordable. I'm such a big believer in OVR. I've partnered with them in my competition Apex, and they are the official timing gate system of the Fast 40 event. Finally, a tracking device company that is accessible to everyone. They even have an app where you can track, log, and see your results in real time. If you're not testing, then you're just guessing. Click the link in the show notes and gamify your training. Zach, what's the best training app on the planet?
It has to be Train Heroic. Gone are the days of sending the old crusty PDF. Now we have a sleek new app.
It's easy to use. There's videos with descriptions. You get to track and log your weight, your reps. There's a community chat function. You can submit videos. You can get feedback.
How about the leaderboard, Tim?
I started using Train Heroic first as an athlete and someone who wanted to learn. Now I use it as a coach. Athletes and other coaches can go and be a part of my training community and get results.
Whether you're an athlete, coach, or just like to train, use the link in our description to find out how you can train on the best app in the world.
And join us on Train Heroic today.
When the NFL opportunity popped up, I was excited. I was like,
right, you're ready.
Yeah, I was like, hell yeah. Like, college football's taken a different turn here on the strength side. I've been at UNC for several years now. I wanted a new thing, a new challenge. And it's the NFL. And I'm looking at this staff on paper. It's like a banger staff. I mean, we got Matt Van Dyke, we got Ryan Grubbs, we got this huge sports performance department that the organization had invested millions of dollars into. We got all the resources, got, you know, 1 million 1080 sprint devices. We got 10 Nord boards and the force plates, and you know, it's like every meal they serve in the building's like a restaurant quality meal. And I was like, hell yeah, baby, here we go.
Sounds great. We made it.
Yeah. And I'm like, I'm hesitant, like, how far down this rabbit hole do I want to go? Because, you know, I'm friends with a lot of those guys. And
sure.
Man, there were some really great people on that staff. And as individuals, there were a lot of really good, smart practitioners, but we had this huge sports performance department. You know, we had strength and conditioning, we had sports science that had 3 full-time guys on it. We had a return to play department with 3 kind of hybrid PT strength coaches. We had sports medicine, we had a nutrition staff with 3 RDs on it. We had like a 30-person sports performance staff, and all of whom worked under the general manager. They weren't hired by the head football coach.
Interesting.
It was the GM who hired and supervised this entire sports performance staff. So like the head strength coach there had survived 4 head coaching changes because the GM had been there throughout that whole tenure.
I see.
So it was a very interesting.
Yeah.
That's
not typical at all.
There's a few NFL teams who do it that way. And it's this very different model, but it's more of a newer development. Whereas in college, it's certainly not that way.
Right.
You're under the head coach. You report to the head coach. And it wasn't like that when I got to Houston. And
when you know what's interesting, John, is as you're naming all that, the thing that bubbled up for me is too many cooks in the kitchen. Because I've been in situations and scenarios where it's like if you just hire, it's like more is better. And if we just get enough elite people in all these different departments, then it's going to, bam, we can check our box and we're going to be covered. Of course, we're going to be covered. I've actually found that it can be pretty dysfunctional in that way.
You nailed it with the too many cooks in the kitchen. And like I said, on an individual level,
brilliant.
I had great relationships with all these people. I learned a lot from each person individually, but as a unit, it was tricky. It was very tricky. You had very experienced, highly opinionated department heads, all of whom were on equal playing field with each other. And not everyone necessarily got along.
Sure.
And I think we needed, maybe a little bit of more clear-cut leadership to kind of unify everything. And, you get there and you're a small fish in a big pond. You got a lot of different opinions that you're sorting through. And it felt like I don't really have much of a voice in this. It's unclear whose voice is really guiding the ship. So, God, I have so many things I want to say, but I'm going to, because I'm friends with a lot of these people, I'm going to, remain a little bit censored.
Sure.
I do want to give a shout out to Ryan Grubbs, who was on the strength staff with me. He's now one of my closest friends and just an elite strength and conditioning coach. And he was doing some amazing work over there. But, beyond Ryan, I felt like things from a training standpoint, I wanted to go to Troy. Take me. I'll go to Alabama. Yeah, I wanted to go to Troy. And, the organization, the Houston Texans organization, phenomenal organization.
Right.
D'Amico Ryan's phenomenal head football coach. And they did a lot of great things over there. I just think, like you said, there are a few too many cooks in the kitchen. Yeah. I wanted to go where I could be a little bit more of a bigger fish in a small pond. Back to basics, a little bit simpler, and just get to some real good old-fashioned strength and conditioning.
So it's interesting because what I've heard in your story, a reoccurring theme here, which I have a ton of appreciation for, is you accomplish great things. You really do. Whether you want to or not, actually. Between football and you do. Yeah. You're a winner. You're a go-getter. You make it happen. You're clearly excellent at building relationships, which is why you keep getting great opportunities. And typically the mark of someone who is able to do that is a high character, high integrity, hardworking son of a bitch. So hats off to you.
Thank you.
But I'm also seeing a ton of courage and bravery to be able to walk away from some of these opportunities.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It is courage and bravery. And I was just talking about this the other day. You can work your whole life to get to something, and then you get there and you realize it's not what you want or what you thought it was going to be. And it's just, it's not, it doesn't make you happy, and you're there and you're going, well, what the fuck do I do now? And I feel like you've been confronted with that multiple times.
Yeah, I have. I've always been one to kind of carve my own path and take a little bit more the unorthodox route. And I've really realized, let the things that I really love and I'm passionate about be my North Star and follow along with that. And when I'm doing something that I'm not really passionate about, not totally bought into, it's time to shift gears.
Something about there are people who are going to be listening to this who have a great job, who feel they should be so grateful to be in a situation that would leave if they felt like they could.
Yeah.
And what I mean is that they've got like a golden handcuff situation, or they've put so much into something that the idea of walking away from it feels preposterous. And then what's more, what happens when I make the leap of faith?
Yeah. It's scary.
It's scary. So can you talk to that a little bit? Because what I've also heard in your story, and this is I can see this in myself too, is oftentimes what's on the other side of that leap of faith is better than you ever could have experienced, but you have to take the leap and you have to be willing to walk away.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, one thing, like, I would forever look back and regret it if I said I was too much of a coward to take a leap pursuing something that I knew I loved. I don't know that I would ever look back, even if things maybe didn't turn out as well as it could have logistically. I would look back and be proud to say, hey, maybe I hit some rough patches in doing this, but I bet on myself. I took a leap of faith. I was pursuing something that I was passionate about. Like, I could hang my hat on that. Whereas if I look back and said, man, I just stayed frozen, paralysis through analysis for years and threw away, my golden years just plugging away at something I didn't love because I was, like I said, too afraid to take a leap. Like, that's something I don't think I could live with.
Yeah. You know what I in my mind, when I hear you say that, there's a massive difference between living and surviving.
Yeah, hell yeah.
And to continue on in that place. Because Lord knows I've been there. I've had periods of times where I got to survive.
Yeah.
Motherfucker, that's just what has to happen. But being able to recognize when you're in that spot and get back to living, which is like pursuing the things you love and being who you are authentically and doing what you actually want to be. What a gift.
Yeah. And, I live pretty simple. I don't need a lot of things.
Yeah.
So when I turned down the opportunity to play in the NFL, which I had the opportunity, I had a combine invite. I like I said, I was a projected 6th, 7th round guy. I wasn't going to be a first rounder, but I think I could have played a few years. And so I turned down money to go have no money. Right. My first few years working, like I said, I was making $35K. I was literally living paycheck to paycheck. But that was okay because, man, I was doing what I loved. I felt liberated.
Yeah.
Like I was having so much fun with it. And I was training my ass off. I was doing strength and conditioning. I was around some of the GOATs in my field. I didn't care that I wasn't making much money. And, it was kind of the same thing when I made the decision to walk away from football. I was like, I'm so tired of being handcuffed by the politics of working in the team setting and just like, we're constantly operating within these rules. Like in the NFL, we're walking on eggshells. We can't train the guys we want to train them because God forbid one of these multi-million-dollar commodities gets hurt, and I was like, I want to work for myself. I want to set my own schedule. I want to say the things I want to say. Like I had this creative side I wanted to tap into. I wanted to work with lifters and all that. So I was willing to be like, yeah, maybe the first couple of years is kind of a grind financially, whatever. I want to go do a thing that I love. Now it turned out I'm making way more money and doing what I do than I did in football.
Well, I would like to jump into that too. So why nutrition? Like, when did that happen? Because you were a training guy first. Yeah. And then when did nutrition, when did you start to fall in love with it? When was it something that happened to you personally where a switch flipped?
I always loved the nutrition side of things. Ever since I got into training, I started lifting weights in 7th grade, and I kind of got into like post-workout protein shakes and like muscle milk.
Shout out muscle milk, dude.
Man, I would go.
I've drank ocean of muscle milk in my lifetime.
You remember when Blockbusters were a thing? It'd be so cool to go to Blockbuster and like peruse the movies. GNC was like that. It was like my Blockbuster. Like just
I worked at a GNC.
Yeah,
I did.
Like perusing the supplements, and you're trying that new pre-workout, and
you were destined for this.
Yeah, but I also really got into the food and the meals, and that was always kind of in the back of my mind. But as I was getting towards the end of my football career, I was an offensive line built guy, and I was such a fan of bodybuilding and powerlifting and strongman and just the fitness industry. And I was like, when I'm done with football, man, I want to have abs. Like I want to have a great body comp.
Is that O-lineman trauma that so many O-linemen share?
Yeah, I think so. And I wasn't like the fat kid growing up, which a lot of those guys are kind of like always, grow up the fat kid. I was kind of the tall and skinny kid, but yeah, I really had to work to put on weight, and I weigh right now about the same as what I did when I was playing O-line, just a drastically
Except
different.
you have abs.
Exactly.
What do you weigh right now?
I'm about 307.
307 with abs, folks. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. But when I got done playing, I was like, I actually immediately got onto a keto diet, which
really,
if I could go back in time, I would advise myself very differently from a nutrition standpoint. But I was invested. I got on a keto diet because, are you familiar with LaCharles Bentley?
That name sounds
he's
familiar.
a big time O-line skills coach / private strength coach.
Okay.
He was kind of big time around that, 2015-ish time, and lots of off-season NFL guys, O-linemen, were training with him, and he had a lot of them on low-carb diets. So I had been kind of watching that, and then I was a big follower of Mark Bell. I listened to his podcast for years. It was so surreal doing his podcast. He's a friend of mine now, and that was so cool for me. But Mark Bell was really into low carb diets. So I got out of football. I did a keto diet. I dropped down from 310, 315 down to 260.
Whoa.
Now I was emaciated. I was like, I lost a lot of muscle and strength, and I was like, okay, fuck this. I was like, this isn't the right route for dieting. So I hired a bodybuilding coach. I was like, you know what? If I'm going to do this, I want someone to show me how to do this. And so from then on, every year I would work with a different bodybuilding prep coach, and they would diet me like a bodybuilder.
Yep.
So I would go through the cutting phase as if I was preparing for the stage. And then we'd go into the big gain phase. I'd put on a ton of muscle. And I realized quickly how much of a weapon it was to harness nutrition, periodize it annually, periodize body composition annually, to where I could change myself physically in a way that training alone couldn't. And that's how it completely transformed my body. And I put on tons of muscle mass as a result of it. One of my biggest philosophies within performance nutrition is, if you want to put on a ton of muscle, get really lean first. It's going to set you up tremendously to put on a ton of muscle tissue. So
Can we talk about that? What's been your experience with that, and why do you feel like that is the preferred method?
Yeah. So if you look around, who carries the most muscle tissue relative to their frame of anyone in the world, it's the bodybuilders. And then people will immediately counter, well, it's the drugs. And I'll say, well, yeah, but the powerlifters and strongmen are all on the drugs too, and arguably abusing the steroids more. They don't look like bodybuilders.
Right.
They don't necessarily carry that same level of tissue relative to their frame as bodybuilders. The thing that separates bodybuilders in that regard is they get shredded lean multiple times a year, and that allows them to put on muscle tissue. So one of our single biggest assets to hypertrophy, to building tissue, is insulin sensitivity. So it's not just shoveling calories in your face and lifting heavy. More calories does not equal more muscle protein synthesis. Okay, building muscle tissue, it's signaling in the body. It's mTOR signaling, it's IGF-1 signaling, it's insulin sensitivity, your ability to partition nutrients. So insulin is a storage hormone. You eat a surplus of calories. What does your body do with those calories? When you're really insulin sensitive, you are going to be more disposed to storing excess carbohydrates as glycogen, using them as fuel, assimilating amino acids to build new muscle tissue. So when you get really, really lean, you drive a couple factors that are favorable towards anabolism. You're going to be extremely insulin sensitive, meaning your body is going to be incredibly receptive to a surplus of calories. Your rate of gastric emptying is going to be extremely high when you diet down, meaning you eat a bunch of food, your body's just going to be processing it, digesting it, clearing it quickly. So you're kind of turning your body into this food processing machine. And then you give yourself this runway, this clean slate where, okay, I can add on a bunch of weight. And even if I gain some fluff along the way, I'm still going to remain pretty lean.
Yeah.
And when you are at a leaner body composition, you're just more anabolic. You know, when you're...
I've seen studies referencing like the ability, based on like your body fat percentage, typically how much muscle you can put on over any period time of training. And like everything I've ever seen is like the leaner you are, it suggests that you're going to put on more muscle tissue than if you were like 18% body fat or higher.
The more body fat you start to put on, the more insulin resistant you become, and all those surplus calories you're eating now become much more likely to be stored as body fat. When you're really lean and you're eating those surplus calories, your body's going to do a much better job utilizing those calories for anabolic purposes. Not to mention, you diet down on the front end, your appetite's going to be elevated for weeks and weeks and weeks, which is conducive to then going into a surplus phase. So, you know, I'd end these cuts at, you know, this past one, I ended on a DEXA, 5.7% body fat. And no, I took the thing nasty shredded. I diet down truly like a bodybuilder.
Yes.
Striated glutes, the whole thing.
Jesus.
And, I suffer for it.
Yeah.
I suffer for it. But, you know, okay, so I end the cut at 6% body fat, whatever. Well, over the course of this gain phase now, let's say I put on 6% body fat. Okay, I'm going to end at 12% body fat. I'm still going to have abs.
Still super lean.
Yeah, and my body's still going to be really effective at utilizing nutrients. And the mistake people make when they're trying to put on muscle is they're just hammering calories. They're accruing all this body fat. And then they get to a point where their body's just not good at utilizing those surplus calories anymore. And it's not being used for anabolic purposes. So I always recommend, before going into a big gain phase, diet down on the front end first. It's going to kind of pull back the slingshot to then catapult you into that muscle gain phase, which is why I periodize my nutrition annually. And I go through cutting phase, reverse diet, into my gain phase, maintain, hold that tissue, get really strong at that new body weight, and then repeat the process, diet down again. But then that next time I diet, I'm going to end that cut heavier than I did the last time because I've added muscle. So I end the first cut at 260. I go through a muscle gain phase, put on a bunch of mass, diet down again. I end the next cut at 265.
Yep.
Repeat the process. And the next thing you know, I'm ending cuts at, 290 and shredded. And you've put on a legitimate, over the years, 30, 40 pounds of dry contractile tissue, right? So
you said so many things that I'm just in. So, when I fell in love with training, it was T-Nation, Elite FTS. It was YouTube. Like, I just wanted to be jacked and get a girlfriend and have abs, dude. That's what it was about. And all my experience trying to just get as big and jacked and lean as possible, the one thing one of many things that I've taken away from the hypertrophy space, the bodybuilding space, that has been invaluable to me as someone who coaches a lot of athletes, is food regimentation.
Yeah.
It's vital. And I want a hot take. If more athletes ate like bodybuilders, they would get better results. 100%, which is why I really, really invested in nutrition. I saw it as a means to improving myself as a powerlifter and strongman competitor. Now I had,
my kind of own personal interest in just having a great physique too, especially now at this point in what I'm doing, the physique sells more than anything.
Yep.
I learned real quick, you post that 700 pound deadlift, Gen Pop doesn't know the difference between a 700 pound deadlift and a 500 pound deadlift.
And it's not relatable.
Not relatable. They see abs. I want to work with that guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I do want to say, what I kind of laid out for myself is a pretty extreme protocol. Like I'm not suggesting that athletes bodybuilding prep style diet down to a shredded, 5% body fat. But I think if they did periodize their nutrition where they had dedicated phases in the year where they were losing some body fat, and then going into a dedicated hypertrophy phase and their nutrition reflects that.
Yes. You're beating me to it.
Yeah. Then they could take their physical development to new levels. And then there's, when I'm programming nutrition for guys, like when I'm working with strongman competitors, in their off season, we'll focus on body comp. But then when they're in prep, okay, now nutrition is purely oriented toward it's fuel, right? It's fueling training and recovery.
It's a business decision.
Being anti-inflammatory. But I'm saying like the nutrition doesn't just apply to body composition as it can help athletes. From a pure, okay, we're in season, we're not trying to lose weight, we're not trying to gain weight, we're just trying to fuel performance. Yeah, focusing on your nutrition is going to take your performance to a whole other level. And one of the most like unsexy, slept on things that I push on my guys is proper electrolyte intake and hydration.
I saw you post something the other day about potassium.
Yeah, I'm a huge potassium fan. Like I consider it, I had a post I put up one time about my favorite not PED, PEE, performance enhancing electrolyte. And most people drastically underconsume potassium. Like most traditional electrolyte supplements are going to be very sodium laden.
Yes.
I love LMNT, but it's going to be 1,000 milligrams sodium, like 200 milligrams potassium, 60 milligrams magnesium. You really want a 1-to-1 ratio of potassium to sodium if you really want to optimize performance and recovery. And most people, they're getting like an 8-to-1 ratio of sodium to potassium. And especially if you're bigger, if you're sweating a ton, if you're training hard. So I have my guys consuming potassium like it's their damn job. And your performance will improve acutely in your recovery, in your health. You want to improve your blood pressure, crank up your potassium intake.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. And sodium got demonized. You see a lot of these health studies kind of linking high sodium intake with negative cardiovascular outcomes and all these negative health implications. The real issue is it's not an overconsumption of sodium. It's an underconsumption of potassium and fluids relative to that sodium.
Oh, that makes a ton of sense.
I've got what I call kind of my holy trinity of performance, which is carbohydrates, fluids, and electrolytes.
Shout out carbs.
Yeah. And that's a whole topic that I'm passionate about, is the pushing back on the demonization of carbohydrates. But when your carbohydrate, your fluid, and your electrolyte intake is on point, and by electrolytes, I mean you're getting in adequate potassium, sodium, magnesium, and fluids, performance enhancing drug. Sodium is a performance enhancing compound when you match it with potassium and fluids. If you're just...
Can you talk a little bit? I'm familiar with the balance and why that's important. For people who don't understand like fluid to sodium ratio and then where potassium plays into that. And actually I'm learning in real time about the importance of potassium in the context of that ratio. Can you dig into the science of that a little bit for us and how that manifests itself?
Yeah. So like one thing is going to be like tying in the carbohydrates to it. So the electrolytes are going to be a key player in your ability to store carbohydrates as glycogen. When you have adequate sodium and potassium, they're going to help shuttle carbohydrates into the muscle. They are a required component to properly synthesize glycogen, store it in the muscle. if you're under consuming electrolytes or fluids, you're not going to be properly storing those carbohydrates the way you want them to. But then, if you're over consuming sodium relative to potassium, it's going to be kind of, vasoconstrictive and have some negative blood pressure implications. Whereas potassium is going to be relaxing to the blood vessels, vasodilating. Mm-hmm. So when you have this combination of sodium and potassium, it will improve your blood pressure and improve blood flow and the flow of nutrients and the synthesis of glycogen, the storing of carbohydrates in the muscle. And you need the fluids to help shuttle
push it
that.
there.
Yeah, in order for glucose to be stored as glycogen, it requires fluids and sodium to attach with it. So when you're lacking in any of those things, you're missing a big piece of the puzzle. But when you have them all working in harmony, man, it's a hell of a performance enhancer.
Well, to that point, and I love this because you're confirming a bias I already have. And I think, a secret that's not that much of a secret anymore is that when it comes to performance, carbs.
Yes.
Carbs are a performance enhancing drug, people. They're phenomenal.
Yes.
From my own personal experiences to working with athletes, I have conversations about their diet and they're worried, they want to be lean, so they're cutting carbs. I'm like, don't do that. Don't do that. John, you're the expert here. First of all, am I right or wrong? And then whatever your answer is, can you tell us why?
Yeah, you're 100% right. So today I will be consuming 1,100 grams of carbohydrates.
Fucking legend you are.
Yeah, and this is in the pursuit of physique improvement. And when I was dieting at my lowest, my carbohydrate intake was 400 grams of carbs a day, and I was suffering.
Yeah.
And now I've trained my capacity to handle carbohydrates like that. Mm-hmm. And that's a big thing. Your metabolic capabilities, you can train that. But my opinion is, if you want to use nutrition to create a great physique or to drive performance, you need to turn your body into a carbohydrate processing machine.
Preach.
That is gas for the gas tank. Turn the body into a race car that's taken that A1 fuel, and that's carbohydrates. And you can grow your gas tank to where you can handle more and more gas in the tank. You can utilize more and more carbohydrates. You can train this ability. You look at every bodybuilder, they are cranking carbohydrates.
Yep.
Low fat, high carb intake. Even protein's kind of overrated in terms of we really don't need as much protein as we think.
Can you talk about that? Because that's also something recently I've been seeing more on social media, and it's become sort of like a hot button topic to say you're over consuming protein, because up until this point, what has been the number one recommendation to someone walking in the gym?
Yeah, gram of protein per pound of body weight.
Bingo.
So I will say, there's not a ton of negatives that come with high, over consuming protein.
Right.
Like if you were going to over consume any macronutrient,
let it be protein.
Let it be protein. Okay. My point though is you just don't require as much as we once thought, particularly if you're in a calorie surplus. So when I'm in a surplus phase, I'll actually decrease my protein slightly, which seems counterintuitive. It's like you want to build muscle, you're going to decrease your protein. When I'm in a cutting phase and I'm in a deficit, I'll increase my protein. Okay. It's going to be a little bit help with muscle retention. It's going to be satiating. Protein has a high thermic effect of food, meaning your body literally burns calories, processing, digesting, and assimilating protein. So like in a diet phase, a deficit phase, I'll push the protein pretty high. But in a gain phase, when you're in a surplus and you're eating a lot of carbohydrates are protein sparing. Okay, meaning your body is not going to be liberating your own amino acids out of your muscle tissue as an energy source if we already have this surplus of energy via carbohydrates.
Understood.
We're not really nearly as much risk at our body saying, we need energy, let's take it from this muscle tissue and use it. Whereas you're in a deficit, you run that risk. So you have the higher protein intake, you can kind of help offset that. Whereas in a surplus, you got all these carbs, you've got a surplus of energy. Your body's not going to be burning through your own muscle tissue. And our body converts new protein maximally in grams per day. So I think the maximum amount of actual new muscle tissue we can synthesize out of dietary protein daily, like all things perfect, is about 28 grams.
Wow.
Do the math. Like people say, oh, I gained 10 pounds of muscle in a month. It's like 28 grams in a day. You're on steroids and everything is perfect.
Right.
You know, there's 1,000 grams in a kilogram and 2.2 pounds. That's a lot of days of perfect muscle protein synthesis leverage.
You did not put on 10 pounds of muscle.
No. Now, with all that new muscle comes, you know, glycogen, intramuscular water, blood volume. So like dry contractile tissue is going to bring in additional, you know, intramuscular substrates, and the scale weight will move up a little bit more with that. But the rate that we can really build new muscle is painstakingly slow. So, you know, there's kind of this popularization of lean gaining, kind of gaintaining per se, where you're eating in just above maintenance and just really improving your strength in the gym in kind of a hypertrophy oriented training, and eating just enough to support growth. And you can kind of max out that daily muscle protein synthesis. Now, I'm not necessarily in favor of just trying to thread that needle perfectly of totally gaintaining. Like I'll push the surpluses a little bit higher. But the point is, you're consuming 300 grams of protein. At best, 28 grams of that 300 is going to be made into new muscle. You consume 400 grams, it's not going to improve. You're capped out.
Yeah.
You're capped out. So all that extra protein you're eating, it's just stomach space that it's taking up. Protein is going to be the most satiating, so it's going to suppress your appetite. You know, if you're eating tons and tons of meat every day, it's hard to do.
Yes.
Like, it's hard to eat 8 ounces of chicken every meal.
It's so fucking hard to do.
Yeah. So it's like, hey, let's scale that back and let's eat more carbohydrates.
Yep.
More
you can consume
energy.
more. You can get more calories in that way. It's more fuel.
Yeah. So, you know, I'll drop my protein intake down to sub-gram per pound of body weight of direct protein.
Right.
The other thing you got to consider is you're going to get a lot of kind of indirect protein from your carbohydrate and fat sources. Like there's going to be protein in white rice. There's going to be protein in oatmeal. There's going to be protein in, you know, your peanut butter, your almonds, things like that. And all that kind of indirect protein does also add up and contribute there. So, you know, like with a lot of my strongman guys, you know, it's been traditional to eat like 16 ounces of cooked meat 6 times a day.
That's just a cultural thing.
That's a cultural thing. And I'm like, boys, like, we don't need to do that. Let's cut that in half. I'm like, let's cut that in half and let's fill that gap with more carbs.
You know, it's so much about the nutrition. It's like you can't even have a talk about nutrition unless you have a conversation paralleling it around the psychology.
Yes.
And when I heard you say that, this is how you know I've been in the trenches. Okay. Telling an athlete who's had a ton of success eating a certain way, eating 16 ounces of meat 4 or 5, 6 times a day, that we're going to cut it in half. That can be incredibly unnerving for the athlete, particularly if everyone else is doing it. Well, that's what everyone else is doing.
It is. And that is why I place a lot of value in walking the walk myself.
Bing, ding, ding, ding.
And I say to the guy, and it helps. It helps with buy-in. Like,
it fucking matters, dude.
You know, when they're looking at me, a lot of times they're like, I want to work with you because you're walking the walk. I see it in you.
Preach.
And then they trust the process a little bit more because I'm like, listen, like this is what I'm doing. It's working for me. And I don't want to say, oh, that's the answer to everything. Is just because it worked for me means it's going to work for you. But it definitely helps with getting that buy-in from the guys. And, you know, no disrespect to some of the other nutritionists out there, but, you know, sometimes it's a little bit harder to get that buy-in from kind of the, you know, the small kind of soccer mom looking dietitian on the staff.
Well, also too, you know, John, what you're doing too, like you've pushed the boundaries on both directions. You've gone through keto. You've tried and committed to different dietary plans and programs.
Done it all, you know.
to that point, there is a parcel tongue, so to speak, that comes from people who have been training in the gym for 20 years, who have been dieting incredibly hard. You're able to connect with someone on a mental and emotional level that frankly other people, you can't transmit what you don't got, right? If I got a cold, I can give you a cold. If I don't got a cold, I can't give you a cold, John. If I've been in the shit and I know how difficult it is to make a transition, and I've done it myself personally and also coached other people, sure, to your point, saying I do it, therefore, is not necessarily, the end all be all, but it does fucking matter. And it places you in a position to be uniquely effective, I believe.
Yeah. And now that my, resume is building and I've got a lot of people who have had success with these sorts of protocols, now if you don't believe me, here's my 50 other people who have had success. Here's their before and after.
Yes.
It's like here, and then they start to experience it themselves. And you're right, nutrition is so psychological. I put out a long video on my YouTube channel talking about the psychology of nutrition because it's so intertwined with culture and social life and emotion and all those things. And, with training, you get on a new training program, it's immediately kind of fun, it's cathartic, it's new. Like day one, you have a great workout, you feel good leaving the gym, you're like, oh, that was badass, I'm so bought in. Whereas nutrition, it's not like that at first. Initially, it's almost like negative feedback.
It's horrible.
It's like inconvenient at first. It's like, shit, I gotta take all this extra time, prep my food, and I don't get to eat pizza anymore. And it takes a few weeks to really start feeling the benefits of it, and certainly to start seeing the changes visually. So getting that buy-in, you got to get through those first weeks and keep them consistent, keep their head in the game with it. But then, man, they start to see the changes. They start to feel the difference. And then they're a believer. And that was me. I realized how much putting so much effort into my nutrition was changing everything in life for me. When I first had abs, my life changed. I was so much more confident. I talked to women differently.
Yep.
I carried myself differently. I felt better. Nutrition changed my life completely.
It's so cool to hear you say that, because when something has an impact on you like that, the ability for anyone to, it no longer becomes a sales job. It no longer it's not a job. It's not this thing that you have to manufacture.
Yeah.
And that's that my cold analogy, that's the perfect, that perfectly fits as to what you just described. You can't fake that. When something has had such a deep and profound effect on you personally, I've never once sold anything in my life that I truly believed in, whether that be an idea, a philosophy, or just myself. If I have the utmost belief in something, it's easy to talk about.
100%.
It's a lot easier to be effective and get buy-in from other people.
Yeah.
This episode is brought to you by friend of the show, David Gray of David Gray Rehab, creator of the absolute game-changing foot, ankle, and Achilles program. To date, it's helped over 8,000 people, including Zach and myself, get back to running, jumping, and playing pain-free. This program isn't just for athletes. It's also been used by coaches and physios in the NFL, NBA, and Premier League, as well as every other major sport. And if that wasn't impressive enough, you can get the full program 15% off lifetime access when you click the link in the show notes and use code TIM at checkout.
So listen, whether someone's a coach, a trainer, or an athlete listening to this, if you could wipe the slate clean of their mind and say, hey, nutrition principles, these are the things you really want to nail. If you just want a strong foundation of what it takes to have a good body composition and perform well, what would those things be?
I think I would try to establish a daily consistency first and foremost. I wouldn't necessarily try to have people right out the gate, tracking macros and, food scales and getting that into the weeds with it, but just establish a number of meals you're going to eat daily. because nutrition to make a change to your body with nutrition, it requires consistency. And most people, it's like they're eating a different number of meals every day. It's like oh shit, it's noon. I forgot to eat breakfast. They eat hardly anything during the week. They binge on the weekends. It's just all over the place, where I'm like, just establish a daily consistency. Let's call it 4 meals a day, and try to eat those meals roughly around the same time, give or take an hour, and get into that good rhythm. Okay. So now I'm eating kind of the same amount of meals every day around the same times. And that's going to start to kind of auto-regulate your intake. So now it's not like all over the place. Now you're going to have a pretty good baseline foundation of what your intake looks like. And then from there, it's pretty easy to manipulate it. Adding some food, subtracting some food. Whereas if you're all over the place, it's like, I don't know, where do I even begin? Like, I have no idea what my calorie intake even looks like.
And would you say it'd be fair to say that starting place doesn't have to be perfect or even close to the ideal of where you want to be? You just do have to start from a place.
Exactly. So start with a set number of meals a day, whether it's 3, 4, 5, and make it something that you can sustain, not just Monday through Friday, on the weekends as well. Build each of those meals around a protein source. I think that's a good starting point. Have some sort of a quality lean protein, whether it's a meat, whether it's a fish, whether it's, Greek yogurt, a whey isolate, eggs, whatever. First and foremost, build that meal around a protein source. And then when it comes to remaining food selections, I like to use what one of my mentors in nutrition, his name's Justin Harris, he's in the bodybuilding world. He coined the term kill it, pick it, grow it foods. If you can hunt it and kill it, if you can grow it in the ground, you can pick it out of a tree, it will be very, very hard to overeat these things. You build your diet around kill it, pick it, grow it foods, your body, 99% of the world, your body composition will improve.
Preach. I tell clients, I fucking love that. I'm going to steal that, by the way. I'll tell, first of all, I've had clients whose eating frequency goes up, but because of what they're eating, they're eating more food by volume, tremendously more. Lose 6 pounds of body fat in a short amount of time.
Yes.
And it's confounding to people. And what I'll say is I'll write out, I'm like, okay, here's what we're going to aspire to, right? And they're like, my God, this is so much food. And I'll say, I fucking dare you to eat as much of all of these things as you can and gain weight.
Exactly.
I fucking dare you. You can't do it.
Nobody is getting fat with chicken breast, white rice, sweet potatoes, blueberries.
Good luck.
It's not happening.
Honestly, we have a different conversation if you're able to do that.
Yeah, seriously.
You know what I mean?
But yeah, kill it, pick it, grow it foods are going to be, single ingredient, non-processed, whole foods. So establish daily meal consistency, build each meal around a protein source, fill out the remainder with kill it, pick it, grow it foods. And hey, maybe if there's some deviations from that, maybe if you're only 80% successful with kill it, pick it, grow it foods, probably way better than what you're doing right now. Now we can start to get a little bit more advanced. If you're concerned about performance, let's make sure, let's bias things more towards carbohydrates. Okay, when we're filling out our plate around that protein source, let's start going more carbs, especially if it's a training day. Okay, and hey, maybe let's start putting more carbs in your pre-workout meal and your post-workout meal. So we're gonna use these carbs most effectively. Okay, and then hey, maybe if we really start getting more advanced from there, we can start kind of tracking things a little bit more and start periodizing things into gain phases, cutting phases. And we've got this kind of consistent intake established now. You're in a good rhythm. I'm eating my 4 meals a day. I'm eating kill it, pick it, grow it foods. I've shifted things kind of in favor of carbohydrates, especially on training days, around the training window. All right, well, now let's kind of quantify this. Okay, you're about 20% body fat. You want to gain some muscle. Let's go into a deficit for a little bit. Let's lose some body fat. Now, to your point, not everyone is ready to lose body fat yet. Not everyone has the metabolism necessary to support a fat loss phase. Most Gen Pop who comes to me wanting to get leaner, the first thing we do is we start eating more.
Yeah.
More than they were already eating. So, like I'll use a case study. I've got a guy who came to me. He was about 240 pounds, carrying a lot of excess body fat. He was, 40-some-year-old dude, not training consistently, for the most part sedentary. And he was eating on average like 1,800 calories. And, Monday through Friday, it'd kind of be 1,800 calories. The weekend rolls around, it's beers and pizza. And then you get this big spike in calories, and storing it all as body fat. And then repeat
he's
the
just
process.
adding body fat at one weekend at a time.
Yeah, exactly. But now it's kind of like maintenance calories is like 1,800 calories. And it's like, we're not ready to go into a deficit with you. What are we going to do? We're going to drop you down to 1,300 calories to start losing body fat. Okay, that's not a lot of food. That's not going to support training. That's not going to support muscle retention. And then what happens when we plateau from there? Are we going to drop you to 800 calories?
Yep.
Right? It's not a sustainable
I've run
place.
into this problem with a lot of female gen pop.
Yeah. There's a lot of metabolic downregulation and suppression in female populations. Especially, if I'm working with like bikini competitor or a female in the bodybuilding world who they go through abusive diets where it's 2 hours of cardio a day, 900 calories, and your metabolism, there's metabolic adaptation to where your metabolism downregulates. And now you're maintaining your body fat levels on like 1,000 calories.
Jesus.
It's not sustainable. And then when you start eating more, if you go back up to a normal, 1,800 calories, whatever, 2,000 calories, now you're in this huge surplus.
Yes.
And now the body fat just starts piling on rapidly. So with people like that they've got a lot of body fat to lose, but their maintenance calories are pretty low, we can train that and we can build that up. We can turn their body into a food processing machine. So we start pairing effective training. It can't just be the nutrition. We got to be moving. And that's something that people miss in this anti-carbohydrate debate is like, I'm not saying that sedentary people should be eating high carb. No, we got to move. We got to get our body utilizing the gas we're putting in the gas tank. So when I've got that guy who's sedentary, eating hardly any food, got a lot of body fat to lose, we're going to get him onto an effective training program. We're going to get him walking daily, 8 to 10,000 steps daily at a minimum. And we're going to start increasing his calorie intake. Now he's got a little bit more fuel for training. Now he's building some muscle because he's lifting. Now he's moving outside of the gym. So he's using those carbs effectively. Okay, now we've built him up to, he's maintaining it more like 2,100 calories. Okay, cool. Let's keep going. We build a little bit more muscle. The more muscle mass you put on, the higher your metabolism goes. Your body's got to work harder to hold on to muscle tissue. It contracts. It requires blood flow and nutrients. It's metabolically expensive. So the more muscle mass you carry, the more food you can eat. So then we keep that process going for a few months, gradually increasing food intake, gradually improving in the gym, building some muscle. Now this dude's maintaining around like 2,500 calories. He's put some muscle on. He's already dropped some body fat. His body comp has improved just by training and moving.
Yes.
Now we're in a place where, okay, we can drop you down from 2,500 calories to 2,000 calories, 500 calorie deficit. We're going to effectively lose body fat, and we're in a decent place. We've got some room. If we hit a plateau, we can make some further reductions, and we're not going to be in this terrible, unsustainable emergency situation where post-diet you're screwed because you're eating nothing, right?
That is such a pragmatic and practical approach. And there are just things that jump out to me. It's like you can't go lower than the floor.
Yeah.
You shouldn't.
Yeah, exactly.
You shouldn't go. And then, and this, particular case study you're presenting here, it's let's get consistency first. Let's get the wins first. Let's get on some good tissue first. Let those wins coincide with the benefits of getting your diet dialed in.
Yeah.
And inherently some of the speed bumps that are going to come along the way of getting this behavior change to be fully set in stone.
Yeah.
Now you're cooking with fucking gas.
Yeah.
You're eating, you're in a rhythm, you're consistent, you're feeling good, your body composition is improved. Then you have the opportunity.
Yeah. Exactly.
How do you have that conversation up front though? Because when someone comes into you and shows up and they say, I want to get lean. I'm ready to get lean, Jon. Let's do it. And you say, well, hold on.
Yeah. For the most part, I basically explain that process I just laid out to you.
Yes.
And I kind of map it out for them. And when I explain it in terms of like, here's where your maintenance calories are, in order to start losing body fat from here immediately, this is what we'd have to drop you down to. Mm-hmm. It's not a lot of food. And then, where do we go from there? When I really kind of map it out for them like that, okay, they start to get it. And then also when you've got a person like that and we get them moving and training and eating more, the changes start to happen pretty quick.
Yeah.
They really start to realize those changes pretty quick. They feel way better. And as they're simultaneously building some muscle, increasing their food intake with Kill It, Pick It, Grow It foods, it's like newbie gains. Like it's those novice gains. And
the best.
They're just showering.
That's what hooked us all.
Yeah. And they get bought in. And then, like I said, just the more I've kind of built the resume and I've got client testimonials and transformations and all that, it helps drive the buy-in. Yeah. And a lot of people find me actually for my nutrition coaching services, like because I put out a 30-minute talking head YouTube video talking about building the metabolism.
Yep.
And that's often the first step we have to do before fat loss. I've had a number of nutrition clients come to me because they found that. And they're like,
that's pretty cool.
Like that resonated with me. Like I've always done these crash diets and just dieted on like rock bottom calories and it never worked. Like, but what you said, like that resonated. So, I've got a lot of people who come to me because they've heard my philosophies that I preach on YouTube or social media or whatever. And I always try to preach these messages, and that's why people come to me.
Yeah. I said at the beginning, I think we could do a 3-hour podcast. I really wish it was. I'm going to have you back on.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we're really just getting to the good part with some of this nutrition stuff.
Well, we got legs to hit in a little bit.
We do have legs to hit. So priorities, people. So that being said, we've got about 10 minutes. Let's rapid fire through some segments.
Hit me.
Okay. I'm going to stash. We put up a question box for this. I'm going to stash this. This is not the last time Jon and I are going to hang out. Okay. We're going to run this back if you'll be so kind enough to come back.
Say the word. I'm here.
Because we've got more to talk about. I want to get into, more athlete specific nutrition stuff. And then, the differences and similarities between bodybuilding and strongman and where you've been able to pull all this stuff. So I'm ready to nerd out with you more. That being said, let's get to some segments. So, Jon, this is 3 things. We kind of talked about it, in the past 15, 20 minutes of like, what are some steps that, if we wipe the slate clean, for like the normal person to improve performance. But let's make this coach specific. What are 3 ideas, principles, actions, lenses that coaches can look through for their clients, for their athletes, to help them be a more effective nutrition coach?
Number 1, I would start going through it yourself. I would start making sure you have that skin in the game. I think there's value in dieting down yourself, going through a gain phase yourself, maybe even working with a coach yourself. People ask me all the time, what book should I read on nutrition? And I say, honestly, there's not any one particular text that jumps out. I'd say work with a coach and start getting your own experiences. And you'll take the things that you like, you'll take the things that you don't, and you'll instantly be able to relate to your clients a lot more. I think another big one is understanding the psychological implications that come with food.
Yeah.
Right. With training, it's a little bit easier to say, hey, you're being soft, like, and hey, just shut up and push through it. You got to understand, when you're dealing with nutrition clients, food is tied to emotion. And when you're going through hard things in your life, that's going to affect your appetite. Like for me, when I'm going through hard shit, I can't eat. I have no appetite.
Yep.
Other people, they're going through hard things. You know, they binge, they eat for comfort. And you've got to understand the human side of that. You also got to understand, like, food is part of culture. You know, you're working with someone from, you know, for example, Mexican or Italian culture. Like, they try to go to that family dinner with a Tupperware of prepared food.
Yeah,
like,
they're gonna get roasted.
Yeah, no, not just roasted. It's like, that's like a slap in the face to their heritage, to their culture. And understanding, like, you know, someone has a significant other, like date nights, like this stuff plays into our life pretty significantly. And you got to figure out how to navigate that. And a lot of times if I have a client who's having difficulty with adherence to the plan, the first thing I investigate is, you know, what's going on in life? Mm-hmm. Are there some stressors going? Did you go through that breakup? Did you get laid off your job? You know, whatever the case may be. And you get to the bottom of some of those things. And you also got to understand the discomfort of hunger and how much of a drug-like effect, you know, processed foods have with us. You know, it's not as easy as saying, oh, you know, stop eating like a child, like, you know, tough it up.
Yeah.
Like, food's an addiction for a lot of people. It's pretty hard to tell the heroin junkie, dude, just put the needle down.
Yep.
Like,
I wish, and honestly, this would be something I want to talk to you about next time you're on. But as an addict myself, someone who's recovered, when you know, you know.
Yeah.
And when I meet someone who's struggling with something that no matter how hard they try, they cannot do it on their own.
Yeah.
And they've tried countless times over and over again. And they wake up and they say, why did I do X, Y, Z? That is an addiction, brother.
Yeah.
And and it's for whatever reason, we're not ready to talk about that at a larger scale. And how prevalent it is, and that addiction being the core of that, and food is just the avenue that most people have access to, at least in this country.
Exactly. So I would say, number one, have skin in the game, experience it yourself. Number two, understand all the psychological, intangible factors that come with nutrition. And number three, I would say I try to err on the side of eating more food than less food. Like it's easier to reduce someone's food down the road than it is to say, oh shit, we were underfeeding this guy. Now we gotta dig ourselves out of this hole. So I always err on the side of let's eat a little bit more, let's train a little bit more, as opposed to going super low with calories. You know what I mean? And on that note, I would say training has got to be, exercise has got to be a North Star guiding this whole ship. If you want to improve your body composition, the exercise has got to be in place. You know, like you're not just going to be, if you're, you know, severely obese, okay, we can lose tons of weight probably with nutrition alone.
Yeah.
Just get them walking, whatever. But for most people, like, we got to make sure that the exercise side of this coin it's calories in, but it's also calories out.
Yeah.
Right? We got to make sure that calories out part is being sufficiently addressed. And that's something that, you know, I'll have people I'm working with for nutrition only, but a lot of times we're having conversations of, are you progressing in training? Are you training with intent? Or are you just going in and checking boxes? Are you hitting your daily step count? Like the exercise, I say exercise because not everyone, you know, is going to be lifting. Not all Gen Pop wants to be clanging and banging in the weight room to lose weight, but you got to make sure that component is addressed.
That was elite, by the way.
It's kind of a long-winded answer.
I hope everyone took notes on that. It was very good. All right, Rant and Rave. This is brought to you by Train Heroic. Hey, guess what? I use Train Heroic. Zach uses Train Heroic. John uses Train Heroic. How about that?
Team Hammer Chisel, baby.
Hey, Hammer and Chisel. Check it out. You can do so by clicking the link in the show notes. Just saying.
Tim.
I know. Thank you. All right. So, John, Rant and Rave.
Okay.
What is something in the nutrition space right now that you're seeing, and it's rant worthy, something you're like, you know what, I'm seeing this, I'd like to see less of it. And then full circle on the other side, What is a trend, topic, conversation that you're seeing that you're like, you know what, I'm seeing this and I love that we're talking about it?
Okay, well, we already talked about the anti-carb deal, so I'll lay off that. I think a rant would be diets with names, right? If keto diet, vegan diet, carnivore diet, if your diet has a name, it is an identity cult. It is not a effective dieting methodology. Now, can people have success with one of these diets? Yeah, sure. But I think most people get indoctrinated into these diet methodologies, not because it's like, oh, I have done all the research. I really think this is like a really effective methodology for me. No, it's they want to be part of something bigger than themselves.
Yeah,
they want to say,
identify with.
I'm a keto guy. I'm a carnivore guy. I'm a vegan. They want to talk about it. They want to be on Facebook groups with other people who are doing the same thing, right? It's that group culture thing. And I think most of those diets are not sustainable. I don't think they're in any way, shape, or form, optimal really for most goals. I think they have really kind of fringe applications. Now, look, if you're a vegan you're taking a stance on animal cruelty or something like that, okay, I respect it. That's your stance. But if you're like a vegan because you think, oh, if you eat meat, you're going to get cancer and die, or like, oh, this is the way that humans were meant to eat because look at the bone structure of the teeth of I'm like, shut the fuck up. It's so I would rant against kind of these extreme diets that have names and have group identity tagged to them. As far as raving, I think just more in the social media era, a lot of the stuff that I rant about is being perpetuated, but you also have some good voices.
Yeah.
Like you've got some really good people putting out really good information. I think, the information era we're in, it's a double-edged sword. There's lots of bad information out there, but there's also probably a lot more good information out there than ever. So I think I would rave on the fact that there's some really good sources of information out there, and I'm trying my best to be a contributor to that.
I love this question. And I love who this question is brought by, which is David Gray Rehab and the Foot, Ankle, and Achilles program. John, did you know that if you use code 10, you get 15% off and lifetime access?
I did not know that.
And now he knows, and now you know. Click that link. Use the code. I don't get paid for the code. David will, admittedly. But he's a friend of the show, and it's a really good fucking program.
Shout out David.
Shout out David. All right. So, John, if you weren't a nutrition coach, if you weren't a podcaster, if you weren't crushing it as an entrepreneur, and you're one, I might add, what would you be and why?
God, you crossed so many things off the list.
I did it on purpose.
Especially like entrepreneur. That's such like a broad thing that
it is. I'll let you do some like an entrepreneur adjacent thing, as long as it's not in the fitness space. How about that?
Yeah, I might be a fishing guide.
Oh, cool.
I'm really into fishing. That's kind of one of my hobbies.
What are you drawn to most about it?
I love the water.
Yeah.
I love being out on the water. And I'm an inshore fisherman. So in the intercoastals, the backwater creeks, I like, fishing brackish water. But man, you're out there on a small boat, light tackle, fishing for redfish, flounder, trout. It's incredibly peaceful. But then I love the hunt, going out there and you find the fish and you get that precision cast on them. And I've loved fishing.
My dog's ready to pack this podcast up and fish right now. I can see it. I love it.
Yeah, so like that's one of my hobbies. Maybe I'd be a barista. Making espresso is one of my little hobbies.
Nice.
I'm a big coffee connoisseur. But yeah, you eliminated like all the other things I would have done.
So he'd be a hopped up coffee fisherman. I fucking love that, dude.
Yeah.
Incredible. Very nice. Yeah, I did. I removed so many options for you. All right. Are there any, as it pertains to the nutrition space at large, and maybe even from nutrition coaches, are there any ideas, sayings, methodologies that are overrated? Things that you think too much time and too much energy and effort or importance is placed on a specific thing. And then on the other side, something that would be underrated?
Overrated in nutrition. We talked about, I think protein can be a little bit overrated. Now, with that said, your average person's probably under-eating protein. Right. But when it comes to the person who's like all in on nutrition, they probably swing a little bit too far in over-glorifying like really high protein intake. But again, I do want to clarify, for the average person, most people are under-eating protein. They should get closer to that gram of protein per pound of body weight. I think a lot of over-the-counter supplements are pretty overrated.
Yeah.
In the nutrition world, I think there's a few that are really tried and true and effective. Good old creatine, monohydrate.
Yeah.
Which,
shout out creatine.
Yeah, which actually I'm really into mega dosing creatine. Now that's kind of a recent development. Yeah, I'll take 30 grams a day of creatine.
I wish we had another hour, John.
Yeah, and it's not just for the performance benefits, for the cognitive benefits.
Really?
Yeah, it has some amazing nootropic, cognitive.
God knows I need all the fucking mental health I can get.
Yeah. But I think a lot of the supplements out there, like testosterone boosters, things like that are pretty damn overrated. Underrated, carbohydrates.
Yeah.
And potassium, electrolyte.
You got some potassium on you? Because I know we're about to lift. You got some in your bag or something?
This shaker is full of 32 ounces of water and
with potassium.
Lots of electrolytes.
Okay. Do you have to that point, carbs and potassium being underrated, what would be a potassium supplement that you would recommend or that you use personally?
So potassium chloride, and you can actually get on Amazon, or a lot of grocery stores carry it too. You can literally get a salt shaker of potassium salt, potassium chloride.
Oh.
So you got sodium chloride, which is table salt. You got potassium chloride. And there's a product called No Salt. And there's another product called Heart Salt, I think. And it's just a shaker of potassium chloride. And it tastes actually very similar to salt.
Get the fuck out of here.
So I've got a shaker of Himalayan pink salt. I've got a shaker of...
Do you hit it with both?
Yes. Every meal, I hit it with just kind of a rough...
You just revolutionized dinner for me for the rest of my life. Yeah. I want you to know that.
It costs like $5.
Get out of here.
Yeah. But then the other thing I'll do is I drink intra-workout coconut water.
Oh, sure.
So a liter, and you'll see me, I'm going to drink 2 liters during our leg session, which is going to have 80 grams of carbs in and of itself. But we'll have about 3,200 milligrams total of potassium. So I love coconut water as a potassium source. And then I try to get a lot of potassium from whole foods. So everyone associates potassium with bananas, but spinach, Greek yogurt, potatoes are going to be avocado are going to be very rich in potassium. So I'll eat a lot of potassium-rich foods. I'll salt my meals 1-to-1 with pink salt and potassium chloride. And then if I'm drinking an electrolyte supplement like an LMNT, which is very sodium heavy, I'll put a little 1/4 teaspoon of potassium chloride in there as well.
Wow. Damn, that's so cool. It's not often I feel like I'm entirely just a student in the seat, But today, it has been such a treat sitting with John because I have felt like a student the entire time. This has been so great.
Hell yeah, man.
All right, last segment here. This is unsolicited, solicited advice. This is brought to you by Eleiko. I still cannot fucking believe they sponsor this podcast.
That's so cool.
Shout out to Eleiko. They sponsored Apex, which happened yesterday. Also, John was there. John, thank you for coming out to Apex. It was really cool to see you there. Okay. Use code CoachEmUp10 for 10% off. Click the link. We're the only people on planet Earth that have a code to Eleiko. So
that beautiful Swedish steel.
That's so yes, indeed. No one does it better than the Swedes. It is what it is. Okay. So unsolicited, solicited advice, John. We're going to go to C4 after this. Okay. And I'm going to do my best to maintain my pride in a leg workout with you.
Well, I've seen your physical capabilities. Like I think you'll do just fine.
In preparation for this, I'm going to go and I'm going to take a piss real quick, John. But actually what I'm doing is I'm going to go into the bathroom and I'm going to get my fucking mind right. I'm going to point in the mirror and be like, you can't be a bitch. And I'm going to do that for probably 10 minutes. And you're going to start to wonder, where the fuck is this guy?
That time would be better spent consuming carbs.
It would be. Oh, we're eating immediately after this. And the potato thing, I'm getting a double order of potatoes.
Let's go.
So during my absence of my hype up session, you're going to be just kind of doing what you do to warm up, few arm swings. That's what I imagine Jon doing to warm up, just swinging his arms a couple of times, hitting a couple of quad stretches, and then just jumping right into it. In the midst of this, someone's going to be passing you, Jon, in the gym. And for whatever reason, you don't know why. They certainly don't know why. You feel compelled, driven, convicted. You have to share a piece of advice with this random fucking person who just happens to be within your orbit. It can be about life, training, anything at all. What would that one piece of advice be?
Is it a man?
It can be whoever you want it to be.
I'd say don't double text that girl. She's not busy. Her phone didn't die. She ain't that into you. No.
Oh my God. That's really good advice, Jon.
I'm happily married, but I've got a couple single bachelor buddies who are, they're early 30s. They're really, looking, and I've had to deliver that advice recently. No, but it's serious.
Don't do it, brother.
On a serious note, I always say one piece of it's kind of unpopular advice, but if I could just give one piece of advice to impact like general population, it would be cut out alcohol. I've never met anyone in my entire life who regretted stopping drinking. Never. And everyone I've ever met who stopped drinking, even if it wasn't, a problem, it's not like they're an alcoholic, but they were regular drinkers. They always say, I feel better. I'm a better person. My body composition is improved, everything. So I would say to most people, if you regularly consume alcohol, either heavily minimize it, if possible, just cut it out. And that's not from a moral standpoint whatsoever. I'm all in favor of body sovereignty, like do what you want with your body. But I've seen it time and time again. It really has some negatives in a lot of realms of your life. I would consider cutting it, if not, or at least reducing it.
I love the way you said that. And and mentioning the moral aspect, because if we get down to brass tacks and really look at the return on investment, it does not make sense practically for most people, even in the slightest amount in most cases. Wonderful advice.
Yeah.
And certainly not for someone like me, because I'll ruin my fucking life if I have one sip of alcohol, dude. Yeah, I mean, truly. Grateful to be sober today. Jon, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah.
Listen, I love everyone who comes on the show who's willing to dedicate their time and take time out of their busy lives to do this. I am chomping at the bit to get you back on, because as we're talking about the nutrition stuff, I'm just like, my brain, I'm like, oh my fucking God, there's a million different things I want to talk about. So truly want to have you back on soon. Where can people find you, connect with you, and work with you, man?
Yeah, for sure. So you can find me on Instagram. I post on there all the time. Just search Jon Heck. There's no H in Jon. It's just Jon. Heck, like what the heck. You can find me on YouTube. Search the same thing. And then you can go to my website, hammerchiselperformance.com. You can find my coaching services, my ebook, training programs. I got all my Train Heroic stuff linked on there as well. And then I've got the Hammer and Chisel Performance podcast. Guest episodes release every Tuesday on my YouTube channel, Spotify, and Apple.
Legend. Guy's absolutely crushing it. Give him a follow. Reach out to him. Connect. Jon, thank you. Everyone, if you've made it this far, listening, watching, we're eternally grateful. And remember, there are two types of people on this world. We'll see you next time. Peace.